the KKP. Today we're going to do the sitting down version. So one of the subjects that we're going to talk about is what makes a good teacher.
People go into a new school and they just see people. It really is about your teacher. Your teacher is basically what drives you to either start or quit.
Well, and I live by the credo that, you know, I judge a tree by the fruit it bears.
Yeah.
So if you're turning out really good practitioners, then that sounds wonderful to me. However, if you're giving out black belts and black sashes and they cannot defend themselves, and you are of the credo they have to train for many years. If they've trained 5 years, 6 years, and they don't know how to defend themselves, then I'm going to have to lay that on the instructor.
Right. Right.
Especially if they're only the students, because people are like, well, it has nothing to do with the martial art, it has everything to do with the student. I go, actually, it's interesting. If it's a bad martial art, it doesn't matter who the student is, no matter how serious there is, because there's only so much you can learn, right? But if you're in a really good system that teaches on everything you want, right, now it comes down to the student. The student's going to have to put the time in, do the extra work outside of class and different things like that. Because people are like, well, you know, it's not the school, it's the student. I go, that's not true.
Not entirely.
No, it's not entirely true. I said because the instructor has to be, one, constantly growing. The other thing is that the instructor has to be presenting something viable.
Exactly. Because students are always searching. When a student goes from, I'm sure you've met a lot of people who goes, oh yeah, I did that. Oh yeah, I did that. If you keep jumping from one martial art to the other, you must be looking for, before you start doing that, figure out in your head what you're looking for. Now remember, many martial arts takes years to learn.
Yeah.
Right? So if it'll take you years to get your answer. And so me and Gus are very, how can I say, satisfied with our art. Because that's why we could invite anyone to show us their art, not to challenge them,
right?
But just to see, just to trade notes, just like, oh, that's so cool,
right?
We are very, we found what we wanted to find, and we are still trying to give that. We're still trying to give it away.
Yeah. Because we're at the point now where we've hit a certain level in it. Now we want to just share it with the people who want it. Open-hearted people, of course. All the arrogant people who want to tell the stories about how great their grandmasters were. You can pass us with that. We're talking about true martial artists who really want to learn and improve.
Right. We have kooky art Sifu, Lo Sifu. They're amazing people. It's just they're kooky. So we don't name drop because we shouldn't.
Right. Not a good thing.
Not a good thing. It's just that what they gave us is the confidence that we could take anybody on. Not necessarily we're going to win, but we'll take anybody on and give them a fight. It's not what we want to do, right?
Well, and the other end of it is know where we're short on things too. Say, oh man, that's a really good move. I don't play as a know-it-all. There's people who, I've learned from people who go, they show me something like, oh, I didn't think of it that way, right? And that's how the instructor constantly grows. Even when I go to China, some days I'm training. Last time I went, I was training with a kid who was 19 years old. He was unbelievable at movement. I don't know if he knew the combat, but he was unbelievable at movement. So I sat there as an open book, as an open heart, and I learned from him. And not once did I say, I shouldn't be learning from him because he's only 19 years old. You know, and that's what a good instructor do. He can find a master in anyone. Right,
and I'm sure you're looking to see what are traits. Like what my brother said, they're students for one thing. But if you don't know what to look for like your typical, any kind of good, where there's motivation, not more like you should buy this, right? It's just like, okay, let's do this and then do this. They have ways to like make a community and stuff like that.
You know, I've had people multiple times says, I don't think Kung Fu is for street fighting. And I impart what I do on them, and then they have a better understanding of the street fighting component of it and what people want to teach as traditional. Now, traditional for me it involves the street fighting component. It's not about what I call the flower fist style, or as Sifu Brandon and Quasi call it making of paper tigers, you know? So for us, it's important that the student can also perform these actions as well, because you can see us do it and that's fine, but it's what do we present to the people who are training under us, and what can they do that
Right.
really counts.
Right.
Right, because we could have special talents, but it's when we can pass that information on, and that's what you see in a good instructor, is that the students should be able to pass it on to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one.
Correct.
Because if the instructor's the only one who can do it, then I tend to question it.
Yeah.
You know, he has 50 black sashes, but he's the only one who can do it. I tend to question that concept.
And doing 200 kicks in a row does not tell you get another belt.
Right.
You know, it's skill. You just like any other school, you have to have a curriculum for one thing. Second, you have to have some way to know what you're learning is pressurized. It's testing your anything that you learn, you have to use, correct?
So I think what every practitioner should do is say, what am I learning?
Right.
Right? So let's say if you want to learn street combat, let's use that. Right? Then what you do, let's say if you are a belt, whatever your belt is before black, then go to the people at black and say, are they consistently, because it should be a straight line across. It shouldn't be one person can do it or another person. It should be a straight line across. Everyone should be able to do it. So if everyone can do it consistently, then go back to your Sifu and say, okay, Sifu, am I learning this?
Right.
And it's not questioning your Sifu. What you're looking to do is get answers, right? And then continue your training down that method, because the Sifu should never get mad. He should say, well, of course we teach street fighting, and there's 4 examples of the people out there training right now, you know? And also I tell people, look at Google Fights, look up YouTube, look up attacks. I tell my students this all the time. I go, don't take my word for it. Go on YouTube and look up attacks and say, what I'm learning, would it be effective against that?
Right.
You know, because most people just go to competition, but
It's different.
yeah, it's different. It's a different mindset. It's a
Competition, somebody stops you.
yeah. So I that's my take on it. And if you're not, because I've had people come in and go, well, I want to do Kung Fu, but I don't want to get punched, kicked, or thrown around. I go, you want to do Tai Chi in the park, that's not fighting.
Right.
You know?
Uh-huh.
Of course, I get yelled at for that every time I say, no, I said I want to do Kung Fu. I'm like, okay. I go, well, maybe you don't know what Kung Fu is then.
Well, here's a little advice that I used to tell people, and I still do. Write down the top 3, don't make it 5, top 3 reasons why you want to learn any martial arts. And then that usually, and then those things, not just, you don't have to write a full sentence, just go protection. It's up to you. But then you have to keep coming back to that and see if that's what you're getting.
If that's what you're getting, absolutely.
Exactly. A lot of people that my brother has, they go in there, they look great, they're wonderful, they're awesome, and then they put it into any kind of pressurized test or any kind of like show me what you got, and they fail.
Yeah.
Right? That means something there was not there, and there's a lot of people that's why I'm very happy where I am right now in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Right.
So that's why I just want to see more people, not to bring it into my knowledge, but just bring it out there and see other people with their expertise.
Right.
So that's, and finding a good teacher who's very motivated could get that.
Yeah. And you know, the teacher may not have all the answers, but you should be seeking it. You should be trying to say, okay.
A teacher with all the answers don't run.
I have all the answers.
Yeah, like, hey baby,
Exactly.
I have the answers right now.
You know, and you may have, you know, this may not be a nice thing to say, but you might have outgrown your teacher's ability to give you the information that you now need at your level.
Now, if you have a teacher like that and he recognizes that, that is an amazing teacher.
That is an amazing.
That I love when my students go past me and I go, like, oh, great, you can do that, great, because I don't want to do it.
Right. Well, and I've had people who come in and they go, well, I want to learn jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, well, I recommend my jiu-jitsu friends.
Mm-hmm.
I have people who want to do tournaments. I recommend my friends who do tournaments. Mm-hmm. I go, we do something specific. I know how to stay in my lane and to give my best. But most teachers want to be everything to everybody, and that's a
Right.
hard thing to do with quality.
Right, because I'm sure a lot of teachers are victims to staying afloat, to staying in business. So I'm sure that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult. So it's just do your research, do your things. You could ask us, please, what you could do and see and stuff like that. And every art is kind of different.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of martial art masters who are working really hard to give their students the best.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. And what we want to do is just bring this community together. Because like I said, a 23-year-old man come in and goes, you know, Kung Fu is not for street fighting, but it's beautiful and looking. And I'm like, ugh, here we go again.
That's when I go, you know what? Don't hate me because I'm beautiful.
I go, you like my haircut, right?
Yes. Look at this. Shine my head. They go like this and I beat them up. Yes, this has a thing.
So finding a good instructor is really important. And it may be an instructor for your fit. So you may like the hardcore crazy guy, you know, and that's cool.
Right.
You may need someone who explain things to the nth degree, and that's cool. As long as you as an artist are growing. If it's 5 years later and if you're taking a self-protection class and you're not learning how to protect yourself 5 years later, then you have to question the concept of that, you know. Or if you want to do wushu, you may want to do wushu and do tournaments.
Right.
You know.
But just know what you're doing.
Right.
Right. So bring out the menu, which is the syllabus or the curriculum. Look at what you need to do. Check out the students and how they kind of interact with each other.
Right.
You know. So there's a teacher for every student out there that wants to learn.
I always tell people, I said, look at the higher ranks and see if that's what you want to do. And when we met our Sifu, I would always watch the guys who've been there for such a long time. And like, ooh, ah, oh, that's what I want to learn. And I'm like, that right there was what I was looking for at that time. So, or when I go to China and I'm watching all the masters teaching the Tai Chi, I'm like, that's what I want to learn. Like, I know what I'm looking for. So it's always, and ask lots of questions. If you can't ask a master questions, that's another sign to run.
Yeah.
You know, even if he gives you answers you don't understand, you know, like I said, I had a young man who asked me just tons of questions. I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions. I go, no.
There's nothing as fun as that when you have a motivated student.
Right.
I love motivated students.
Yeah, they're good.
Right.
They're good to have around.
Yeah, because it motivates you.
Yeah.
Remember, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Teachers love to teach people who wants to be taught.
Yeah.
So not demands to be taught.
Also, really quick before we sign off, I want to get you guys to help us share this content with multiple martial artists. And you know, if they don't like it, they don't like it. We don't care. But share this with people because there's always somebody who will write us or contact us and say, I'm so glad you put this up, or gosh, I'm so glad I found you guys, because we're just two guys who are keeping it real, keeping it truthful, because we want to produce good practitioners,
Right.
even if they've trained already, you know.
Right. And if you have an open mind and you are an instructor, expert, whatever, and you just want to share, come up, tell us.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see what we can make it work.
I would have loved to have found us back in the day. That would have been so cool on you. Be like, okay, all right, here's my question, Master Ron. When blah, 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 blah. Okay, Sifu Gus, here's my question to you. I would have loved to have found us because for me, it's all about getting better and getting better and getting better.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It's all about getting there and trying to get it out there that Kung Fu is badass.
Yeah, and it's huge, and it's huge.
You just gotta get its head out of its ass.
Yeah, you can't take the combat out.
Yeah, you can't take that. That's like taking conversation out of language.
All right, on that note, let's shut it down. You guys, remember, stay awesome, keep training, write to us.
We're gonna have a closed door session soon with several other experts.
Yeah.
And that'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely looking forward to it. All right. I looked at you, you're like, so anyway, I know what's saying. Then I started going,
I'm tired. I'm getting tired.